The spinning dancer is an interesting illusion that seems to question how our brain interprets visual data it receives from the eyes. This particular illusion exploits visual heuristics called monocular cues in order to give us the perception of an illusion. So there's a ton of monocular cues. The main ones in this illusion are linear perspective, overlap, and relative size. So linear perspective is essentially the idea where if you have two lines that are converging to one point, that gives us the perception of depth. This is how things work in the real world, and so our brain is pretty much programmed to interpret anything that looks like that as an object with depth. Overlap is when you have one object overlapping another one. The one that is overlapping appears as being closer to us as the other one. And relative size, you can kind of see it here, is when you have two objects that are similar, so this wall and this wall, and one being bigger than the other one. This works in conjunction with overlap. The bigger one appears closer to us. So this can all get messed up when you have something that isn't following these rules in the picture, such as this word perspective. There's no linear perspective, there's no relative size except for this one's capital and that one's not. However, if you replace it with something that is following the rules, suddenly the whole image seems to come together once again. Okay, going back to the optical illusion, there's one more concept that we need to understand, that's top-down processing, which basically states that our memory and our past experiences help us. We look at those first before the visual information in order to form the images. So in this first frame, we have the dancer on the right-hand side of the fence. We have linear perspective telling us that this is bigger than this. Overlap helps us determine position, and relative size in conjunction with linear perspective is helping us figure out how big this fence would be. So as it moves, we have memory of the direction it was moving. They're both moving clockwise, and so we would expect the fence to come around, overlap here. Maybe this one will get smaller as it starts to go behind her. And unfortunately, that's not what happens. We do get the overlap, but we don't get the linear perspective behaving how it should have behaved and how we thought it would behaving. And so it's this conflict between monocular cues and our brain's use of top-down processing that creates this optical illusion.